Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's just
Good.
reading over the notes here. Are we waiting for anyone else, or is it just you and I?
Yes, we are waiting for Marvin. He goes by Marv Dirks.
Okay, sounds good.
He's the brains.
Oh, I doubt that. What's your role over there, Kathy?
I am the applications manager, um, and it's a newish role for me, but I've been with the firm for 20 years,
Oh, wow.
doing on the infrastructure side. So I'm familiar with our current system, but Marv has really um, done wonders with it over the years. So
Okay. And what's Marv's role?
uh, Marv, I don't know Marv's exact title. I probably should know that now. But he is our one of our DBAs, and SQL extraordinaire, I suppose I should say.
Okay.
Hello,
Hey, Marv.
Hello there.
good afternoon.
How are you today?
Good. Appreciate
Good.
your time.
Yeah, of course. My name is Nate. So we've got Marv and Kathy. Is that everyone?
Yes.
Awesome. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I like to tailor these demonstrations and walkthroughs specifically to you guys. Our system is cloud-based, okay, so it's very accessible for both employees and managers. It's very robust and agile, so it can be used in a very simplistic way, but it can also be customized if you guys have special needs for, overtime or holidays or shifts, or if you need to track jobs or departments. So the system can essentially future-proof your timekeeping and some of your HR needs. So I've got some notes here, but give me an idea of how you guys currently track time. It looks like you've got an on-premise solution now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Tell me a little bit more about that. How does it work?
So
What's
I'll give you that high level, and Marv, like I said, Marv is the brains, so he can tell you a little bit more about it. But how this came about is we have an on-premise system, and it's aging, and sometimes support is difficult to get when we run into a pinch, and they don't. We have a firm initiative to move everything to a SaaS model, or as much as we possibly can to a SaaS model. And our current solution doesn't offer that. So when support is difficult to get, or they're not in our time zone, so working completely opposite hours that we are. So sometimes that's what makes it difficult. Plus, they're a very small company. Um, so Marv has done wonders with this product over the years, and really made it so it's working for us incredibly pretty well. As with it, he's done as much as he can with what he has been provided by them. Marv is retiring at the end of the year, and that is what brought this about.
okay? So tell me more about the on-premise system now. If I'm an employee, how do I use it?
So Nate, it's basically an intranet app, right? We
Okay.
host a web server on-prem. The database is on-prem. The people who have access to it were initially imported by the vendor, but HR manually enters new employees during the onboard process. And this app is only used for time entry for hourly people.
Okay.
There's no tracking of semi-monthly, which is salaried in our world. The approvers can access the system to approve their timesheet, submitted timesheets, their PTO requests. But typically, they would get an email when an hourly person requests time off or have submitted their timesheet. They get an email. It brings them right to the page. They click yes or no easily, and then that's about the most that approvers do, 90% of them. They don't really see the app. They actually have a couple of other functions, but most of the approvers are look for the email link, click on it, approve it or disapprove. That's very high level. Now, HR, again, they're also responsible for updating the relationship between the approver and the employee. If the supervisors change, if there's a departmental change where maybe they add groups of different people, so HR takes care of that as well. I'll just keep talking if you want.
Well, I'm just trying to get a better sense of what you guys are looking for. So essentially, we've got the timekeeping aspect, but then you guys also needed, did you need an HR aspect as well? Did you need onboarding? I'm just trying to pinpoint exactly what you guys are trying to accomplish. So is it primarily time? Yeah,
Immediate need is time and attendance. Yes, that is
Okay.
our immediate goal.
Okay. Because our system can do many different things. And because it's designed to communicate with payroll, the payroll platform is a key source of how these systems work together. So I show here that you guys currently process payroll in-house. Is that correct?
We do.
Yes.
We our payroll department is separate from our HR department. The application itself creates a paychecks file in a paychecks format. So the payroll personnel actually have access to the time and attendance system. They wait for the timesheets to be submitted and approved. Then they go in and run a couple of functions. One is to create a spreadsheet that they keep for the records. The other thing is to actually create the paychecks file, and then they use that to upload into Paychecks.
Okay. So our process would work the exact same way. Is employees are going to be recording their time every day, whether they're punching a clock or they're manually entering that into the system themselves. And then your approval process, so if it goes to a supervisor or a manager, as soon as employees clock in and out, the system acts in real time. So it's immediately going to send that information, and that information is visible in the manager's portal. So as a manager, I can log into my portal and refresh the screen, and as employees trickle in and clock in and out, I can see that information. So it's readily available to view at any given time by any supervisor or any manager through that portal. Now that portal, it does have different levels of logins. So if you have the admin is the all-seeing eye. So they're a super admin. So when they log in, they can see every department, they can see every employee, and they can approve timesheets so that they're ready for payroll. Now we can create supervisor logins to this portal, and we can define different groups of employees or departments or locations, so they are only in charge of managing that group or that location. And they can do things such as approve paid time off requests. They will receive emails as those requests come through from employees. They can manage those PTO requests. There's a calendar to reference, and they can quickly approve, decline, or they can modify those PTO requests. And then as they make their decision, the system will automatically send an email to the employee letting them know, yes, this was approved, or no, it was declined. So
That is exactly the way it works in our system.
Correct.
The HR is basically the admin roles, meaning they can approve anything across the board. They can deny anything across the board. They, like I said, they're involved in onboarding. And yes, the supervisors, they are limited to their people, but everything is exactly as the way you said.
Sure, which will make the transition extremely simple. So what we need to decide is how we want the employees to interact with the system. How do we want them to clock in and out? So we do have a browser-based portal. It's just a website that they bookmark. So let me change my screen here and I'll show you that. So on your screen right now, you'll see the browser-based portal. So this is computers or tablets. They just bookmark this website. We give them login credentials, and they can quickly access a clock to make their selection. Okay, that's one option. Another option we have is a mobile app. Now, the mobile app, they simply download to their smartphone. It's a free download. Their login credentials are the exact same as the browser-based portal. And when they log in, their home screen is a clock. So they can clock in and out through their mobile app. Now the difference is our mobile app, we provide GPS tagging and fencing, so location management. So if you do have the need for employees to utilize their mobile app and they're out in the field and they clock in and out for a lunch or a break or they end their day, we're going to pinpoint their location on a map. And as a manager, I can view their map and their location on each employee timesheet.
And Nate, that's out of the box. That comes out of the box, right? So that the managers don't have, nothing has to be configured. When you're a manager, you automatically have the ability to look and see when people log in, when they log out, and where they do it from, whether it's mobile or browser-based.
Correct. Now the initial setup, there's a little bit of configuration that we will do for you, and that's deciding which employees you want to use the mobile app and or the browser-based clock. So you can use both together.
I think in our world, it's sort of that we're going to a hybrid, meaning that everyone was working from home the last 4 months, right? Now people are starting to go back in, but they're not doing it every day.
Sure, absolutely. So with that in mind, when they come to the office, we can restrict the browser-based portal by IP address. So if they have a laptop, we could restrict it to just that laptop, whether they're at home or they're at the office, or if there's different computers at the office. So you just let us know where they can access this clock, and we'll ensure that they have to be at the right location. Okay, so that's for the browser-based. Now the mobile app here, you can take the GPS tagging one step further, and you can apply what we call as a geofence. Now the geofence allows me to pick my office building and set a perimeter around that building and assign employees to that building so that when they use their mobile phone, I'm alerted if they're outside the area that I've established. So there is a real-time email that can be sent to managers if I'm not in the right location.
And we could choose who we want that alert to go to. Maybe only HR wants to see it right now instead of the individual managers, whoever. That can be configured, I'm assuming, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir. Okay. Now we do always have the physical clocks, hardware. If that ever, raised an eyebrow
That
for you.
that probably won't happen.
Okay.
Probably not. I think we would have a mutiny if they tried to implement a time clock.
Sure. All right, so we will get rid of that. Yeah, the browser-based and the mobile app is where the industry is transitioning, just because it's universal. There's no hardware to deal with or anything like that. And because it's cloud-based, it interacts in real time. So upon initial configuration, at the employee level, we can say, you know, this group of employees, you can use both the mobile app and the web-based clock. This group of employees, you're limited to just the web-based clock. So you can define it down at the employee level, which makes it really nice. Okay. Now, similar to what you have now is some type of portal, intranet, application, as you call it. So you'll notice that there's a secondary button that we can turn on, and that's the employee portal. Now, the employee portal is not standard on the browser-based, but it is standard on the mobile app, meaning if I have individuals that I don't want to use their mobile phone to punch in and out, I can disable that feature for that group of employees. But they can still use the mobile app for other employee portal features. So they'll have visibility to their time card, and they can interact with that time card, so they can send notes to managers if they make a mistake, if they need to leave any notes about their day. They can also approve their time card. So if you want employees to review their time, make sure that it's accurate, and when managers are reviewing timesheets, they can see that employees agree to the total hours worked for the pay period, you can turn on an approval button. Okay.
Is that so when it's ready to go, are you saying that you need a manager's approval to submit it?
No, not at all. So our approval process is strictly visionary, if you will. So it's just a tool to help eliminate those discrepancies that sometimes come up when employees feel that they've worked 80 hours and then their paycheck reflects 74. So our system allows us to put in a safeguard, not only for the employer, but for the employee. And we give them tools, both on their mobile phone and their computer or tablet, to view their time cards. So they'll be able to see their punches daily, their hours worked daily. And then with our system, we automatically build in your overtime rules so that if we need to track overtime, we can do so, and it's all automated. We just tell the system, is it 8 hours in a day, is it 40 hours in a week, or is it something a little bit more custom?
So in our world, the submission of the timesheet, I'll use a different example. They actually made a mistake and didn't include enough hours of overtime. So what our supervisor cannot do, but our admins can do, is release time back to them. So they've submitted their timesheet. It may or may not have been approved, but it can be either way. HR would actually release it back to them so they could resubmit it, correct it, and then resubmit it.
Okay.
As far as OT goes, that's a really big selling point if you can put rules in here, because one of the reasons we chose the vendor we have today was because we have many schedules, different schedules, and there are overtime rules based on different schedules. They're all controlled by roles. So somebody working 30 hours, typical Monday through Friday, would be one role, and inside that role would have rules. Well, you get overtime after 27 and a half hours, or another group might get overtime after working 30 hours. So you have some with flat time that says, okay, yeah, we'll take the 40-hour one as typical. They have flat time, or they're 37 and a half hours, but they have to work 2.5 hours of flat time before they get overtime starting at 40. So this vendor, over 10 years ago, was the only one that could allow us to create these different scenarios. Now, you may not call them roles, but the idea is that if you can actually tailor overtime scenarios with groups of people, that's something we really need to look at. That's pretty interesting to me.
We can. This current system that you have for time and attendance, is it also handling your scheduling needs?
It does, but quite frankly, as an IT person, not an HR person, an IT person, I've always feared that going to another system would be virtually impossible because of all the different schedules we have. You know,
Okay.
and I've seen over the years, I've seen other systems, but they're all very basic and they don't provide flexibility. And as you know, working on this system, flexibility means there's a lot of work that went into programming it to make it flexible.
Absolutely.
So I like what I'm hearing so far, though.
Yeah, so there is a lot that our system can do. We call it scripting, and basically it's writing code into the base of the system. And if I shift gears for a moment, and if I show you your manager's portal, and in fact I need to log out because I need to log in as a higher admin here. Let me show you this real quick. So a part of our subscription is building this account for you, working with your team, learning about all of your company rules so that we can build the timekeeping so that it's automated as possible. So what I'm showing you here is the back end of the system where we actually work. So these are all categories that we can customize the system off of. One of those right here at the top that's easy to see is PTO, custom PTO policies. Our system has never encountered a PTO policy, no matter how extreme, that we have not been able to accommodate.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we can have different PTO policies for different types of employees. We can change it based off of the anniversary date or year-end date. And then, of course, we can create multiple buckets of hours to accrue in, and each bucket can have a different policy of how it maintains hours.
So in our world, there is an HR policy, and it's based off of 40 hours a week with differences in service years, right? And so you go all the way down, I forget, I think people who work 20 hours get something, but it's broken out by schedule and by the number of hours you've worked for the company.
Number of years or hours?
Number of, well, it's both.
It's both.
It's
Okay.
both. It's both. So you got your schedule, which is a number of hours per week, because these are all weekly people. Number of hours per week, number of years you've worked for the company. And I believe if you switch from one to the other, I'm not sure if you automatically go to the number of service years. HR would have to really tell me about that. But anyway,
okay.
Exactly what you said. You know, we have accruals every month. And the other critical piece is that, and I'm sure you handle this, is that every year they're reset on January 1.
Okay.
Sick and personal, there are different rules. Personal, everyone's granted standard of fixed amount. Sick time depends on the number of years, and then you're also granted carry forward so many hours.
Sure. Not a problem whatsoever.
Yep. I like the screen that you have up. We don't have that many business rules, but an easy one that I think may be easy is our PTO, sick, personal, and vacation have to be taken in half-hour increments.
Okay. Increments. Not a problem. And this is just a fraction. I could scroll down here and show you all these different rules, right? So with the overtime, you'll see that we have a handful here. So what we do is we create groups, and there's a number of different ways that we can do that. So when I'm logged in as a manager and I'm in my portal, my navigation menu is on the left here. And I know it kind of looks busy. There's some things that you won't see because of how I'm logged in. But under the main menu, you've got your employee setup. So again, we will help get all of your employees into the system. So it's not something that you need to concern yourself with. But what we do from there is we drill down some key points so we can start customizing this system. So of course, you know, you'll have all the pedigree information. You'll assign which clock or clocks if you want GPS turned on. So you can do that at the employee level. But down here at the bottom, you've got the employee data fields. So these are used internally for tracking and reporting purposes. And we can create groups off of any one of these data points. Okay, or we can create a custom group just by selecting under my maintenance menu. I can create a group of employees just at random if I want to. So I can come in here and just select by a group of employees to create a group. And we'll use those groups to create your overtime rules, your PTO, and your sick leave policies. So that's how we will create those groups. Now, for your overtime rules, I mean, do you have a guesstimation of how many rules and like you would need in place, and does it change per employee, or does one employee follow the same rule consistently?
They're usually stay in the same group unless they change positions, unless they change departments. I can't say that happens very often. I'm trying to answer your question by looking at the number of roles that we have set up, and I should get back to you on the number of roles being used for active people, because that's really the answer. But I know that we've set up probably 40 roles.
40. Okay.
So, yeah, so potentially differences, but not. But I think what you're showing me is that where my role is an example. This same role is used for different things. For example, one is the overtime. This is the 37.5-hour people. And it says, okay, you get overtime. You get overtime after 37.5 hours. So you get it right away. The other setting is that, are you paid on firm holidays? We have roles that are not, where people are not paid on firm holidays. So it seems to me where this vendor has grouped them by role, you know, we would see individual breakouts on the left-hand side.
So give me an idea of what a role, like what's a role?
A role says that a role is, well, it says who, I'm mumbling, sorry.
That's okay.
Well, one is it's a workflow. So you could have potentially just a supervisor, or you can have an approval group, right?
So a role is not like a department or a sales title.
No, it's more about the number of hours and who you are. So, for example, our admin assistants, there's a 37.5 admin assistant role. So we have 10 offices. So if a particular office has different rules, then I would clone that and make any differences in that role, right? So again, it talks about our meal breaks required. We require our people to put in a meal break. You know, doesn't have to be with, it just has to be defined as a standard. That's one of the options. The other is, like I said, are they allowed to be paid for a firm holiday?
But it depends on their role, right?
It does depend on the role.
It does. Holidays
it does
on the role.
Yep.
Okay, because I want to get a better idea of the role, and if that's how
it also depends on their working week, Nate. So like, in the roles we always select the days you do not work. So in this particular role, standard week is Monday through Friday. Your days off are on Saturday and Sunday.
And then each role has a different work week.
It's most of them have the same work week, Monday through Friday, but we have roles where when people don't work a lot of hours, they will have flex schedules. They may work Monday and Wednesday from 8 to 12. Thursday, they may work 1 to 5.
Okay.
So we have those as well. So we have it broken out. And again, we're trying to do what you're trying to do mentally, trying to absorb it. You're trying to put like people in an area together. That's exactly how we define the roles. And we weren't always successful when we first started using the product. That's why some of them are now obsolete and we've changed as we've gone along.
Sure.
But yeah, I see the connection of what, the way you're identifying it. These like people, what do they have in common? And how far along the list of things that are important do they remain common, right? And where do some of them not remain common? And like I said, overtime is another one. How many hours do you have to work per week before you get overtime?
Now, do those roles, do they change often?
They do not change often.
Okay.
They do change when somebody changes the number of hours per week. So if somebody's working 40 and they go down to 37.5, or vice versa, they go up. But it's typically a change in the number of hours. That absolutely causes a role change.
Now, are employees aware of their role, or is this just done on the back end?
No, they're aware because when somebody makes a role change, right? If we go back to the accrual discussion, the amount of what they're credited per month depends on the number of hours they work and the service years they work. So if I'm a 40-hour employee and I now drop to 37.5, that means the number of hours I'm accruing each month is less. So what happens in that case is that the HR person coordinates that with the employee, so they are very much aware of what's going on. They'll say, okay, starting on next Monday, you're going to be 37.5. They make a prorated adjustment because we're in the middle of the month, let's say. And then on the first day of the next month, they'll accrue the new role. Let's say they drop to 37.5. So there is some manual work there by HR in today's world.
And does your PTO, is it updating weekly, or does it
PTO
update?
is yep.
Like what's your pay schedule? Does it update with your pay schedule? So like weekly, bi-weekly?
It's no, the accruals are monthly. You get the entire month for
Okay.
the accrual.
Okay.
But I will say that if I might segue into actually requesting PTO, right? What this system does is it says, okay, Marv, I want to take time off. I want to take time off in August. So it checks my current balance, and because it's July, it also adds to the current balance what I'm going to receive in August. So if I had 10 hours left in my balance, but I know I'm going to get 5 in August, I have 15 available, and it determines that before it allows me to even submit the request to the approver. And to go even crazier is if, let's say, I'm done with everything, I've taken everything before COVID and I have no time left, so I'm scheduling time for next year. It actually goes so far to calculate every accrual based on my current role to next year when I want to do it and make sure that I don't go wonkers and, request time that I'm not entitled to in the future.
Okay. Our system will do the same thing. I don't know if it'll do it to the fullest extent that you just explained. Something I will have to check with my implementation team. So again, our PTO tracking and creation of policies is very robust. So we can create multiple buckets You can label those buckets whatever you would like, and each bucket can have a different policy on how it accrues hours.
Okay. Yep.
Employees do have a run balance report, and they can do a future report to see how many hours they will have as of that date total. What I'm not clear on is, as your employees change roles, our system, it will be able to recognize the role change, but I don't know how it's going to calculate the PTO and if it will do any of the retroactive calculations.
As long as HR can adjust it, I think that's okay.
Which they will be able to. They can adjust it. They can adjust the totals. They can't adjust the policy itself, which is handling the calculation. I do know that as the employees change role, I'll have to find out what this balance report, how it will accommodate them changing roles, right? Because if they're constantly switching back and forth on how they accumulate PTO, I'm not sure how this system will react. I've never encountered that before, so that's a good question.
So so I make sure I understand. So if I change roles and receive less, it would always give me the wrong amount, but HR could go in and fix it afterwards, unless they change to a different policy, or it may stay with them.
So there's a couple.
I mean, the role. I want to make clear though, Nate. The role change does not happen often, but it is very robust. But it's a scary thing that happens because of everything implied, and I think you recognize all the things that have to go in, and that's why it's handled manually. It's a manual menu option. It's make sure you know what you're doing. It's calculating the accruals, the PTO changes that have to be made. Know what you're going to before you even do it, so you know what that needs to be afterwards. But it's quite an amazing process, because things do happen based on the number of hours that the employee works.
And if that's where we base it off of, then this system will not have a problem. So I know that there's a few ways in the manager's portal when we build the system. Right here. So when they do these accrual scripts, there's a couple different ways that they can classify. And they can either group employees, they can do it off of hours worked, they can do it off of tenure. So if we just do it off of hours worked, then the system will always be accurate, because it'll say, for this week period or for this 2-week period, if the employee didn't work X amount of hours, they're not going to be accruing this much time. So if they worked 37 hours, they're going to accrue this much time. If they worked 40 hours, they'll accrue this much time. So that won't be an issue. That will be accommodating.
This conversation brings up a point that I struggle with the current vendor is, we're building our system. I get that. It's pretty awesome. But then we have to upgrade, because now you want to give us something that we like. How do we upgrade our system with everything we do that is potentially different from everyone else? How do we get through that process?
Sure. So with our system, there's nothing that you need to upgrade internally, which makes it nice. We roll out updates automatically. So when we do maintenance, it's far and few between. It's done late at night, 1, 2 a.m. for a couple of minutes. So you won't have any downtime on our system, which makes it very nice. As far as the transition goes, how long have you guys been using your current system?
It's over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
Yeah, I
And
want to say maybe 11.
okay, and what's the average employee time spent with the company, would you say?
We have a lot of longtime employees.
Okay, good, good. Those are the best kind. Honestly, I think transitioning over into this system will be pretty seamless. The access points may be a little bit different, but the overall workflow, it feels like it's going to be very, very similar. Where the process will change is primarily on the back end, right? Your approval process, how you want it to flow throughout the system. But as far as the support that you guys aren't receiving right now, that's one of our big selling points. Is we're based out of Utah. Where are you guys out of?
Syracuse, New York.
New York. So about a 2-hour time difference. So our support hours are, I believe, 7 to 7, and we've always got reps on call. So if you guys have emergencies or anything like that, and I can always be used as a resource as well.
When you send updates, I mean, is that something um, we obviously can, I'm assuming we can read about what the updates are. I mean, do we ever have to test them before you apply them to our system? Or
No, no, not at all. So most of the updates are done on the back end. We really don't update anything as far as your account goes. When we release new features, they aren't enabled initially. So when you see them on our website or you see them on our newsletter or whatever the case may be, if that's something that you're interested in, I would say 80% of those new feature rollouts do not cost anything additionally to turn on. Some of them do, right? So some of the location management or maybe some of the texting features. So some of that stuff, it does have an additional cost, but for the most part, no. If you see something and you want it turned on, you do, and you will have the capability in your own account to go in there and turn features on or off at your discretion.
do we have like a test sandbox if we ever wanted to do that and test a feature? People ever do that or ask for that?
No, not really, simply because we initially partner with payroll providers. That's how Swipeclock started 20 plus years ago. And so we have a pretty healthy channel of CPAs and bookkeepers and PEO companies. And so we'll actually utilize them, and they'll be kind of our bleeding edge, guinea pigs, if you will. And they will test everything out. As far as you goes, what some clients will do is they will turn the new feature on with one or two employees in their system and interact with the employees, see if they like it. If they do, they'll turn it on for everyone. If they don't, then they'll just leave it off.
Okay. With regards to paychecks, I mean, I'm assuming, I know you interface with them. We have we have business rules associated with some of the um, calculations. Do you also script any changes that may happen in the building of that paychecks file?
Yes and no. So it really depends on what that data mapping is. So are you talking about translations from hours into payroll? Is that what you're referring to?
Um, I guess I am. We have. I wish I were more prepared for that topic I just brought up.
Well, here, let me show you this. This might address
Yeah,
that.
if you show me what you've got, and I mean, there's
So
definitely mappings, right? Different codes and things, and blah blah blah.
yeah, and so Paychex was previously one of our largest partner providers of our services. And then a couple of years ago, a year ago, I think they introduced their own really basic timekeeping system. So they still have a huge book of business with us. They just don't bring on new potential clients like yourself. So we already have a handful of file formats. So again, this will be done on the back end. let me see if I can show you here. So file format right there. So, let's see if this will give me my search box. Nope, okay. So what a file format is it allows us to save information in a specific format so it can quickly be exported out of our system and imported into another system, such as payroll. So with paychecks, because they were a longtime partner of ours, we have, as you can see, a number of different file formats prepared and ready to go. So what that means is when I'm ready to pull the data, so hours out of the system, right? So you'll have a time card section and you'll delegate out to managers or supervisors, and they will basically manage a group or the entire company as far as employee timesheets go, right? Who's going to be reviewing those, who's going to be correcting mistakes, and who is going to putting their stamp of approval so we can submit the information into payroll. Okay, so once we delegate that out and we review all the timesheets individually, right, address any mistakes that may show up, so a missing punch, right, quickly go in there as a manager and add the information, make a note, right, prepare this timesheet for payroll. I then go to my reports menu and I can run a special report. It's this download activities file. Come on, highlight just this one. And that allows me to plug in that specific file format. Now, depending on what you're pulling into payroll, those formats change. So they may pull, for example, something simple like this. So just employees and total hours worked for the pay period. Maybe that's all we need to pull into payroll.
Actually, I have it up now. We actually bring everything like sick, personal,
yep. All
vacation, the details.
Yep.
The
So just like this. Yep. Regular. If they hit any overtime, if they took any floating holidays. Yep. So all of that will be separated out, right? But some of our clients, they need to pull more than just basic information. So some of those other formats allow me to pull secondary information, like different locations that employees have worked at. Maybe they get paid a different pay rate based off of what location or what job they've worked.
Yeah, we don't do that. We just pass the employee code and the details similar to the other one.
Okay. Because one thing I wanted to talk to you about is on the employee side, on the clocks themselves, they are intelligent. So they can gather more than just a simple in and out punch. So you'll notice that I've got other buttons turned on here. So you mentioned that you do want your employees to log a daily lunch. So you'll notice that I've got break and meal buttons. So if we turn those on, what'll happen is the system will actually recognize when the employee is clocked in for the day, so they can't make multiple in or out punches. But it'll also recognize if an employee took a lunch. And then as that employee comes back to lunch, they're going to clock back in from lunch.
Yeah, that's so simple, it's ridiculous.
Yep. If I look at the employee timesheet for today, it's going to show me what time he clocked in the morning, what time he took his lunch, and then what time he ended his lunch. So I can literally track that on the employee timesheet.
One thing we do, Nate, that I did not bring up is that we have different time entry types, we call them, right? So you've got your PTO, 6 personal vacation. we also have, firm holiday, but we've got, sometimes we have leave without pay. And tracking disability is kind of a big thing for us because this application is outside of HR, is outside of an HRIS system. So if somebody contacts HR and says, I'm going on disability starting next month for 6 weeks, in the HR system, they pretty much make a comment somewhere that that's going to happen, right? They would come to our time and attendance system and say, okay, this person's leaving on the 1st of next month. They have so many hours of sick personal vacation. They have to exhaust those before they actually go on disability. So an HR person comes in and for the weeks that they are on disability, fills out the timesheet on their behalf.
Okay.
So if they have, let's say they have 42 hours of sick, well, the first week she might assign 40 hours of sick to that week. There's 2 remaining. The next week, she'll take that 2 and whatever personal time they have in vacation and end up with 0. At that point, they actually enter leave without pay for each particular day that this person is out on disability. So is that something that you can handle as well?
Yes. So we would address it in a very similar manner. So for instance, if I go to tomorrow's timesheets, you'll notice that each one is blank, right? Tomorrow hasn't happened, so no employee is clocked in or out. So let's say Sadie Hunt here let me know that she's going on disability. So as a manager or her supervisor, whoever has permission can hit this add button. And we can do a few things here. We could log an in and out time so that it just creates 8 hours for the day. Or I could just plug in 8 hours for the day. But then under categories here, this is where we can upload different punch categories, right? So of course, a regular punch category is regular hours worked. I can change this. So if I needed to input a sick day or a vacation day, so we can upload as many categories as we need to, so that you can change the category, and if it's paid or unpaid, we will tell the system what a rule is behind that. So you'll see that like I've got a floating holiday. So I'm telling the system that each employee has 1 floating holiday. So once I apply that, it's going to pay out 8 hours. So she could log and fill out the timesheet manually and just use up all of the sick or the disability hours. And then once she hits the week where she's run out of time, we simply just mark it as unpaid. So we could have a category that says unpaid sick, unpaid, disability, and she would just select that. It would show up on all the reports, it would feed into payroll, but she's not going to be paid for those disability hours that she doesn't have PTO for.
That's really good because in our system, you can't miss a paycheck. A timesheet. So let's say the person's out and he can't submit this timesheet. Their supervisor has permission to go in and enter one for them, but payroll doesn't even create the file for paychecks until every timesheet has been reconciled each week.
Oh, wow.
So, right, and yeah, the way I remember it was when we were on ADP, you didn't have to do that. ADP would default to a standard, whatever your standard paycheck was. And then if you played catch up and some people may have had overtime or whatever adjustments, that would all catch up. But in this system, everybody has to have a timesheet each week, which is a little weird. Seems a little weird.
It's good and bad.
It's good and bad is right.
Right. Our system's a little bit different. So you can run reports, you can submit all the hours you want, and the system will notify you. So for instance, if I come and run a summary report and I've got any mistakes on it, you'll notice one, that my employees, their name will show up in red rather than blue. So if I click on them, it'll show me that there's some type of mistake on their time card, or it's incomplete in some type of way. But I could bypass this and still submit this timesheet over to payroll. It's just, it's incomplete. So that's where the approval process can come in handy, right? So you'll notice these little gold figures in this left-hand bar. You've got 2 or 3 of them, it's up to you. So you can have the employee, a supervisor, and a manager, and these little figures will turn green. So if we start from the employee side, if I go to my portal, either on my mobile phone or a computer or a tablet, and I go to my time card, and my manager said, hey, go and review your time and submit your timesheet, go and address any mistakes, so if they see any, right, I can come to this day and I can send my manager a note. And I could say, forgot to clock out, left at 5 p.m. Please fix. And then that note will show up right on my timesheet so my manager can see that mistake and quickly fix it. Right? So that note will sit right there.
Can the managers log into their manager portal and actually see each week as they approve these timesheets what's been submitted and what has not been submitted?
So what you can do is submit it as far as, because if you think about it, we're not submitting anything, right? So every day as I'm clocking in and out, my managers can log in and see information. So I could come up to the time card section as a manager, and I could click today, and it will show me what time everyone clocked in today. And if they're taking lunches or if no one's arrived. So the really only thing that would be submitted is once this is fixed by my manager, he can reply to this message so I could see his response. If everything else is accurate, you've got this approval column right here. So I could come on the far right-hand side and I could hit approve all. And it'll put a little check mark under the E for employee that, yep, I put my stamp of approval on this. When my manager looks at my timesheet, he's going to see that the employee little figure has turned green. So I know, okay, the employee's looked at it, he's approved it. Let me have a quick once over, right? He can see my note. So I could come in here quickly, edit this, add the correct time, leave a note for any other manager to see, save that. Now it's fixed. I could even respond back to the employee, fixed by Nate Krug on 7/14. Oops, save. Everything's good to go. I can come to my time card options right in the left-hand corner of the timesheet. And as a manager, I can approve the entire timesheet. And then my little figure turns green.
Is it possible for someone in HR to come here every Monday when the payroll file is processed to just go here and say, I want to see only the ones that have not been, that are incomplete, that are missing information?
So how we would do that is if we go to our time cards, we've got a couple of different views just for that reason. So if I'm looking to process a previous pay period and I select that button, it will give me a list of all my employees to review their timesheets one at a time. But you'll notice that that menu got a little busy. Different colors, highlights. So anybody in red has a mistake. And this first column, the M, will tell you how many mistakes. The E stands for edits, so it'll keep a running total of which employee time cards you're constantly editing. And then of course you've got your approval for the last pay period, not the current. So I could click on Amanda here and I'm going to see that she's got a missing punch. She didn't leave me a note, so now I need to contact her and say, hey, what time did you clock out on the 22nd, Monday? And then once I find out that information, I can quickly add it and then leave a note if I want to. Fixed for Amanda. And then once that correction is made, Amanda's name will turn blue on the left because her time card is complete. And then if the hours are accurate, I can come in here and approve it.
Okay. Can HR impersonate someone else? You know, HR has rights to, you know, they can see it. We would set them up. They're the super admin. They can see anything.
Sure.
Can they actually go on and say, well, I don't, our Naples office in Florida, I only want to look at what that manager can see. Is there a way to filter out only what that manager would see? So, you know, the Naples manager is out sick and she can't do the final approval for this month, today's paycheck, for last week's time periods. Is there a way for someone to do that on her behalf?
Let's see here. So each supervisor will have their own login credentials. So if you've got a supervisor in charge of a group or a location, the admin can log in. They can run reports and they can find the date range. And then they would just filter by a specific group of employees or select those employees, because hopefully we're defining each employee by a location, right? So we can run this report. And then she would be able to see just those employees at that specific location. That's one way.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Another way, I'm trying to think about the time cards here. Because as an admin, as she logs in, if she were to click today's entries, she's going to see the entire list of employees, not just the ones at that specific location.
Right, and what they'd be doing is they would actually be concerned with last week. Our week starts on Monday, ends on Sunday.
Okay.
So people typically, you know, if they don't do it if they work Monday through Friday and don't work overtime, they can fill it out. But, you know, let's say they forgot. They actually use Monday as the day to go back and fill it, you know, previous days.
So when we build this account, we will build your work weeks accurately and your pay periods. So that way we can track the overtime correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to think, let's see here. If I go to employee setup. So if she wanted to quickly pinpoint that group, she could go to the employee setup and filter by, again, specific employees or a specific group that we've created.
Yep. No, that's exactly how they would need to do it.
Yeah. And then, of course, she's the admin, so she can handle paid time off requests and she can edit their time cards.
Right. Yep.
Okay. What else was I going to show you? I mean, do you have any other questions for me?
I think I'm finally done.
Yeah, we've ran a bit long. I do apologize.
Yeah.
I mean, we could keep going. There's so much that this system could do. So, well, give me an idea. Where are you guys at as far as your timeline goes? Are you just doing your due diligence, checking around, or are you trying to find something soon and have it up and running soon?
I have been recently told that I'm ambitious, but I would like to get something in by the end of the year.
Okay.
and be able to maybe do a pilot group or a test group in December, and then have everybody go live in January.
Okay. Well, let me do this. I show here that you would have roughly 150 to 180 employees on the timekeeping system. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't I send you over a proposal? And again, our pricing, it's just month to month, so no annual subscription. It's just based off of employee usage. It's just a $4 monthly fee per each employee per month.
Okay.
Okay. And then you'll have just a one-time implementation and training fee. And that roughly right around $500, just a one-time cost. And that includes us building your account, getting all your rules and everything taken care of, getting all your employees uploaded into the system, and then working with your team to customize, build everything out. Once that's done, then we host a training for you and your staff, and we'll train you in your own environment. So if you wanted to start with a small test group, we have plenty of clients that do that. They'll upload all their employees, but they'll only activate, like a handful or a dozen, and then they'll use it for 30 days. And then, of course, you've got that ongoing support, which is included in your monthly subscription. So no additional costs. You've got the one-time setup, and then you're just $4 per employee each month after that.
Nate, is there a charge for the manager in the manager portal?
There is not. No, that's all included. So with your managers, they can work in the system, and there is no charge to work in the system unless we're tracking your time or your paid time off. So a lot of our clients will actually upload salaried employees into this system. And even though we're not tracking any time, they'll still utilize the PTO capabilities that we offer.
Now I'm confused. We would be tracking PTO for our hourly employees. That's included in the $4?
Correct. Everything's included. Yep.
Wow. So is there during this process, Nate, do we get together and you import time from our current system, or how does that work?
No, unfortunately, that data will not be able to be brought over into our system. However, it is retroactive up to 90 days, I believe. So you can go back in and manually introduce the time onto the timesheets. But as far as being able to upload the time, no. We will be able to upload your employees.
Right, with like an employee number or something like that that identifies them.
Yeah, so I've got a specially designed spreadsheet that I'll send you, and that spreadsheet just asks in a specific order, just questions about the employee name, start date, classification, and then of course, what method of clock do you want them to use? And then that way we just quickly upload it, we go and define, and then when we work with your team on the kickoff call, that's where we learn about all of the roles that you have. So if you have a copy of all of your roles, send that over to me, please, so I can check with my implementation team and just make sure that we can accommodate, all of the different roles and the overtime rules associated.
Will do.
Okay. So I'll send you guys a DocuSign. You can check out the official pricing. I did record this session, so I'll convert that and I'll send that over to you. And then I'll just recap in the email today's calls. Do you guys have any other questions for me at all?
No, I want to thank you. It was very informative.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So you tell me, how would you guys like to move forward? I'll get you the information. Would you like me to check back in a week, in a month? Where are you guys at?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you could send all the information over maybe we could check back in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Maybe, oh, wait, I have vacation, so maybe the beginning of August.
Beginning of August. I can do that. Okay, guys. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. I'll get you the information.
Yes, well.
And if you have any questions in the interim, just please let me know.
Thanks, Nate.
Will do. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
All
Have a
right.
nice day. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.